Greetings everyone, and welcome back to Lucas Brews. We're back in the Tectonic Hobbies shop today to have a little look at Italeri's brand new Junkers Ju87 G-2 in 1/72nd scale. This is a kit, as I said, that came out this year, but originally it has its origins in 1996 when Italeri released the D5 Stuka, which is the regular version with the bombs rather than the cannons. So we're going to have a little look at this kit, and I thought since we're here we should also compare it to Academy's 1/72nd scale Ju87. So this is technically the G1, but the differences are pretty subtle, and they also did a tooling which is almost identical, that is the G2. So since I had a G1 here, I thought I'd whip it out and have a little bit of a look, but we'll have a little bit of a deeper dive into the Italeri one since it's brand new. We'll have a look at what's in the box, and have a little look at the kit, compare the two, and I'll talk a little bit about which one I think is better. So let's get into it. So like I said, the focus for this video will be the Italeri kit, but we will have a little look at the Academy one and compare the two. Starting out with the box art, Italeri have done a really beautiful classic painted kind of style art on the front here of a Ju87 on obviously the eastern front. It looks really amazing. You've got the cannon firing and you can see all the brass shell casings. You've got a T-34 exploding there, and a few more tanks and Russians driving across a frozen tundra with dark grey skies. It looks really quite good, I think. Yeah, and on the side there, just a repeat of the art. On the back here, you've got all of the schemes, which is quite handy. You've also got a colour guide with the RLM colours and also Italeri's colour guide. So that's pretty helpful when you're buying this kit. You get an idea on what markings are included. So you've got 4 different schemes, which is pretty cool that you get the option. 3 of them are pretty similar. They're just the standard German RLM 70 and 71 with the 65 underside. But you've got this one, which was the one featured on the box art, which has the winter scheme, which looks particularly striking. I really quite like it. It might be something I'm tempted to have a go at when I eventually get around to building this kit. But 2 of the schemes are actually from the same pilot, Rudel, who was a pretty famous Stuka ace. If you haven't looked him up, then I definitely recommend you do. And then we've just got 2 other schemes, all of them from the Eastern Front, which is where this aircraft was mainly used, since that's where most of the tanks were with the Soviets. That's it for the box art. Let's open it up and have a little look at the contents. We'll start out by having a little look at the instructions here. So, this is usually Italeri have the standard fold out, yep, which they've done here. Usually the paper that Italeri print on feels really soft like paper, but this actually feels a bit waxy, so I'm wondering if they've printed it a little bit differently. But yeah, pretty easy instructions, and pretty standard for Italeri. You've got your different colours marked out, you've got a little sprue frame here, and assembly is pretty standard. You obviously start with the interior here. Doesn't look like there's any sidewall details, which is a bit of a shame, but we'll have a look in the actual plastic. You assemble the engine front mount section, or the cowling that covers the motor and the radiator and all of that, and then you slap that onto the front there. Then you've got your wings, so you've got to drill out the holes here for the cannons to go into. A few extra parts you add to the fuselage, like the elevators just there. Then you put the wings together, put them up to the fuselage. Then you've got the landing gear here. Interestingly, they've chosen to do the Stuka without the larger fairing over the wheel there, so it's just kind of a little bit more bare looking. And they did that a lot on the Eastern Front because mud would often get into the fairing that went over the wheels, and it's a little bit lighter in terms of weight, so there were a few reasons they did that. So it's interesting. I don't think I've actually seen a kit, especially in 72nd scale, that shows the Stuka without the covering, so that looks quite interesting there. Radiators, then you build up the cockpit there, so it looks like you've got the option to have the pilot's canopy open, but the gunner will be stuck in there by the looks of things. Then you're just putting the propeller on there, the exhausts, and then the cannons there. So yeah, assembly looks really quite basic. The instructions are quite nicely laid out there. Should be pretty easy to follow if you're a beginner. And here we have the painting guide, so they've got a separate page for each of them. And unusually for Italeri, they're actually in full colour, which is really quite nice. I think it looks a lot better. You get an idea on what you're actually painting, and it's a bit clearer to follow. So as I said, you've got Rudel's plane. This is in January 1945 in Pomerania. So yeah, towards the very end of the war. And like I said, in a very nice winter scheme there. Then you've got another of Rudel's planes. This one's May 1945 in Slovakia. So yeah, it's the standard RLM colours. You've got a white nose there with a black spinner. So that's pretty interesting. Usually they show it with black with a white spinner rather than that way, but yeah, it looks like in the decal instructions are a bit different to the box art there with the black spinner with the white stripes. But anyways, I'm sure you can do either one based on your reference photos and all of that. We've got another one here from summer 1944, and that's also in Slovakia. This is also Rudel's aircraft, and here we have one that's not his, which is from... I'm trying to read upside down, I can't really do that. 10th Panzerjägerstaffel, Dubno, Ukraine, 1944, June, so that's one of the earlier ones. And it's got the yellow spinner and the little T-34 tank symbol on there. And this one's just got the green one. So yeah, these three are pretty similar, but from different periods of the war, very slightly. And then this is a nice winter scheme. So nice little bit of variety there. And of course, on the front there, you've got a little bit of a history guide, telling you a little bit about the history of the aircraft and it being equipped with the the cannons to make the G1 and the G2. So yeah, nice instructions there. I'll fold these back up. I'm not a huge fan of instructions that fold out. I prefer the booklet style, like what Airfix does. However, some people don't mind it. I just find it takes up a lot of workbench space, and it's pretty easy to damage it, and it's a bit of a struggle to fold up, but got there eventually. Anyways, let's open it up and actually have a little look at the parts. Here we go. So, 2 sprues of grey plastic and then a set of clear ones. So we'll start off by having a little look at this sprue here. So this sprue contains the wings right here, you've got the front engine cowling there, you've got the elevators here, and you've got the cockpit floor and some of the radiators, the machine guns there, and just a few other little accessories for the control surfaces, the control column there. So yeah, overall, doesn't look like there's too much flashing. There's a little bit there. Looks like there's a tiny bit there, but not too nasty. You can clean that all up pretty easily. Recessed panel lines, no riveting details anywhere. I'll see if I can get the camera to pick that up. No, it looks like they've done a nice job doing the engraved panel lines there. It doesn't look too bad at all. The engine cowling especially looks quite nice. They've done all the hatches there. Or latches I should say, and yeah, they've done the air intakes are actually quite nicely moulded by the looks of things. They're a very thin piece of plastic there, and you can see through them, so yeah, that looks pretty good. Cockpit floors not too highly detailed, but still, again, not too bad. Pretty standard, I'd say, for a Italeri kit in 1996. A little bit simple in some areas on the cockpit there, and no rivet details, but overall not too bad on that sprue. And then we'll move on and have a little look at this one here. So you've got the landing gear legs in the corner there, and yeah, with the fabric cover, so it doesn't look like they've done too bad a job there. Again, not too much flashing to speak of on this sprue. Here you've got the cannons, which are the important part there, and then that's the ammunition sort of don't know what the word would be, but there's like these little rectangular ammunition boxes for the ammo that feed into the 37 mils there. The barrels aren't drilled out there, so you might want to do that if you want to add some extra detail, and they don't have the muzzles on them, the muzzle flash pattern, but that's alright. It's still not too badly detailed. You got your propeller there, you got the landing gear, no real details on the wheels, and there's a bit of a seam line, so you might want to sand them down or swap them out for some other ones there. The instrument panel there's raised detail. It's not enormously detailed, just enough that you could probably relatively easily dry brush the instruments on using a bit of black there. And your seat, which actually is probably one of the most detailed parts here, because it's actually got, I'll try and get the camera to focus, it's actually got a bit of fabric molded, and you've got seat belts molded, which look nice. And then the little radio stack's got some very basic kind of raised details there, so that's not too bad. You can work with that. Sadly, it looks a little bit like the B version of the Stuka, which I did a video on, so there's no detailing on the sidewalls in the cockpit, which is a bit of a shame, but that's something you can relatively easily add in using a bit of scratch building, but it just takes a bit of time, so that's a little bit of a disappointment, especially for a 2023 model. You'd hope to have a little bit of that detail, even if it does get a little bit hidden by the canopy. Speaking of which, we've got the canopy parts right here. So overall the quality looks pretty decent. There's a little bit of distortion when I put my fingers through. It's not as clear and transparent as it might be on some of the other newer kits by other companies, and also some of Iteleri's kits. But it's okay. I mean, there's no scratches or anything too bad on it. There's some raised detail for the canopy frame, so it shouldn't be too hard to paint up. But yeah, so that doesn't look too bad at all. Right, and now we'll have a little look at our decals. So I believe these ones are printed by Cartograph, if I'm not mistaken. No, I don't think they're Cartograph decals, but that's alright. The Italeri decals don't tend to be too bad at all. So, yeah, you've got your standard German markings there, the yellow identification stripe on one of Rudol's planes, I believe, some of the common stencil markings there, and yeah, so there's not an awful lot of decals really to go with this kit. There's some nice ones though, with the oil, I think it's the oil grade or the oil type markings that would be on all of the German aircraft. That's your access for the ground power, I think, to plug that in. If I'm not mistaken, and then if you don't walk on, don't push, that kind of thing. So yeah, quality looks pretty good. Doesn't look like there's any kind of nasty film or imperfections on them. They all look really quite clear and crisp, and yeah, the detail on them, as you can see, is pretty fine. If I can try and get the camera to focus on some of those smaller decals there, they're pretty good. Yeah, pretty happy with that. There's no German swastikas included, but that's pretty normal for Italeri, so if you want to be extra historical, you might have to get some of them from the stash, but otherwise, not too bad. So that's kind of a general overview of the Italeri kit. Now I'll whip out the Academy kit. I won't take it out of the plastic bags because it's not one that I'm planning on building, but maybe I might do in the future if you guys do want to see it. But anyways, I'll whip it out and we'll have a little talk about how the two compare. So the Academy kit box is a little bit smaller. It's a little bit less, it's more inconspicuous. It's just basically got a nice little painting of the Stuka flying along through some clouds. So not too action-packed, but it still looks quite nice. And then yeah, you basically open it up, and you've got quite a few sprues actually here. Decals there, and your instructions, which are in the booklet form, I believe. Oh no, they're also the same. So for the instructions in the Academy kit, it's fold out like this. Construction's pretty much identical. The only difference is the instrument panel gets added on top of the two fuselage halves, like you see here, rather than being put in with the fuselage halves. Landing gear only comes with the covered version, which is pretty standard, and that's kind of more how the Stuka is commonly depicted. Got the option here to have all of the clear parts open, so the gunner can get in and out, and the pilot, or just one that's already built, so it's all closed up. And then you've got a sprue map here, so as you can see you've got a few more sprues, but it's just because it's more compact, rather than being spread out like this. These sprues are a little bit more smaller, so otherwise there's not really any extra parts that you get with this kit. So the only difference with the G1 and the G2 is the wings, and so you'll see quite clearly when I compare the two. The G2 wings here from the Italeri kit are a lot longer. They've got a kind of extra piece from here, and it's a bit of a sharper kind of curve at the end there. So yeah, you can tell they're a bit longer. Otherwise, pretty much identical. So overall, the detailing on the Academy kit's a lot better actually. So you've got rivets. I don't know how easily you'll see it, but you've got individual rivet lines on the panels. All of the panels are recessed. The tie pattern on the Academy kit is a lot stronger. Well, it actually has a pattern, but to be honest, I'm not 100% sure if that's very accurate. I might have to look at some reference pictures and flash them up on the screen. I don't know if Stuka's actually had that kind of tire pattern, so you might want to sand that down, but I could be wrong. Yeah, and again on the upper surface, there's a little bit of riveting detail on some of the access hatches, and there's some raised details there actually, which are not present on the Italeri kit for the anti-slip kind of parts for the crew when they get in and out. So better detailing on the wings. As for the rest of the kit, it's pretty similar affair with the interior in terms of the level of detail. However, there's one key advantage, and I don't know how easily you'll see under there, but the Academy kit has some quite nice detail on the sidewalls of the cockpit there, so they're definitely a lot more detailed. So Academy decals, they're pretty similar. I think the quality is slightly less on the Academy decals. But you actually get an instrument panel, so if you're a beginner in building this kit, that's nice that they include that, so you don't have to try and hand paint the instruments and all of that on the panels. So overall, pretty similar. And as for markings in the Academy kit, I I believe they're pretty much just the standard green colours. It's basically just either this scheme here, printed in black and white, which is a little bit harder to follow, but it's basically your standard RLM 70 and 71 with the blue underside. Yeah, so pretty similar markings either way you go. So that's the Academy kit. I'll close this one up and have a little conclusion on what my thoughts are about these two kits and which one I think is better. So, after having a little look at both of these kits, I would have to personally say that out of both of them, I think the Academy Stuka is a much better kit by quite a long stretch. It's got a lot more detailing, especially the rivets and the panel lines. The interior's got a lot more detailing. It also is a lot cheaper. The Stuka by Academy, I believe, comes in at around about the $20 mark, whereas the Italeri Stuka comes in at $30. The only thing the Italeri Stuka has that the Academy Stuka doesn't is no fairings on the landing gear, which is, I don't know how you view it. It's nice that they've rendered the aircraft different. The markings in the Italeri kit are definitely quite nice, especially that winter scheme. So in a future video, I'll build the Italeri kit. It'll probably be sometime in January, maybe even early February that I get around to it. It's been a bit busy in the shop because of Christmas, and there's a bit of a backlog of some other videos and other projects. But that's one that'll be definitely coming in the future. Depending how if you guys want, and if there's a bit of support, I might look at doing the Academy kit as well and comparing how they build, because it's one thing to look at a kit and it's another to actually build it. But so basically my conclusion is, if you want a nice detailed Stuka kit, get the Academy one. If you're starting out and or you want a different scheme, then the Italeri kit's still not a bad little option, but personally I think you get a bit more bang for your buck out of the Academy one. Anyways, that's it for this video. I do hope you enjoyed it and got something out of it. If you did, please be sure to leave a like. And if you have any questions or other comments, leave them down in the comment section below. And a shout out, as always, to my wonderful patrons for helping me fund my videos. And yeah, we hit 1,000 subscribers quite recently on my Lucas Brews YouTube channel, so that's been really awesome. I've been trying to get to that goal, and I'm hoping in the next year to start getting a little bit of money out of monetization, and also possibly look at a merch store and that sort of thing getting set up. So stay tuned for all of that. And anyways, thanks for watching, and until the next video, model on.